Alrighty guys, another day, another strength, back with another video today. This one is kind of a continuation of a video that I put up recently on training hard, exercise versus training. And I want to hone in on a certain demographic here, which is senior citizens, right? And the question really that I'm posing is why don't senior citizens lift weights, or the majority of them at least. I'm going to lay out some reasons I think to why. But this is the demographic that really is going to benefit probably the most of anyone from lifting weights, right? Because they have all these health issues, and if you train more, it's going to resolve all those health issues. It's going to give you better insulin sensitivity. It's going to keep you, from becoming obese, or at least, as long as you control your diet as well. It's going to keep your bone density strong, so you're not breaking bones, you're not breaking hips and tendons and ligaments and pulling muscles and all this other stuff, right? You're going to sleep better if you're doing this. So it's just really like a catch-all, very low-hanging fruit to really improve your health and your quality of life, especially in your old age, right? So there's really two main reasons as I think to why senior citizens don't lift. There's the physical and the psychological. I'm going to start with the psychological, right? Because the physical I think has been talked about a good amount, but really I think most of it is psychological. And I'll talk about why. So first of all, there's the cultural aspect, right? So I'm going to talk to the boomers here for a little bit, the United States boomer demographic, right? Culturally, lifting was always seen as kind of like a sport for steroid users and gym bros / mass monsters, right? So like Arnold back in the day, Franco Columbu, all these big guys, right? So it was like, if you were a steroid using bodybuilder, that's who lifted weights. And outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot of it, right? As far as like popular culture. Most of the older generation does not resonate with strength training as a result. And this is mainly a result of Hollywood, of these bodybuilders, that sort of thing. Really like Arnold Schwarzenegger single-handedly kind of like hijacked that, right? You say like, just mention like lifting weights and that was the dude. Even like the fitness magazines, like I wasn't around then, but there was like the, Joe Weider, Jim Weider? I think it's Joe Weider, his magazine. And there were, all these like big, like steroid using dudes on the cover, super like lean, like unattainable physiques almost. But yeah, so this mainly affects post-menopausal women, right? Which is within the senior demographic, which benefits the most from training. They benefit a ton from training, right? Because post-menopause, right, your hormones get all crazy, your bone density deteriorates, like all these other issues pop up. And training is super, super important for that demographic. So not only like as a guy is it hard enough to resonate with a dude like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but as a woman, that's just like not even, basically the boomer women have been poisoned to think that they shouldn't be lifting because they're going to like turn into a guy essentially, right? But yeah, that's the cultural aspect of it, right? Then the mindset aspect, they adopt this mindset that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? So that's not, obviously I'm speaking like generally here, this is not everybody, there are outliers, there are plenty of, seniors that train at our gyms at Starting Strength, but just generally, there is this mentality that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and it's like, they don't like the idea of starting something new. They adopt the mindset of like, oh, that's just the way I am, it's just what I've always done, it's not my thing, kind of thing, right? Without even having tried it necessarily. And the other thing is kind of stacking onto the cultural aspect. Like lifting's always been viewed as a recreational activity, which it kind of is, but it really is incredibly important for your health and should be viewed more as a necessity. So as I said in my last video that I was talking about this, how training, like not training is eventually going to kill you, the same way that not eating is eventually going to kill you. It's just a longer time horizon, right? So like if you don't drink water, within like a few days you're dead. If you don't eat any food, most people have like a few months before they die. And if you don't lift weights, you probably have like a few years, maybe even decades, depending on how old you are. But it's just the time horizon, and your health is going to deteriorate too. So like if you don't drink any water, after like a few hours, you're going to start feeling pretty bad. After a day, you're going to be like, something's really, really wrong, right? Same thing with training. So like after a couple of years, things are going to ache, they're going to hurt. And then, further down the road, you might break something, and then eventually you just deteriorate and you eventually die as a result of that. So you want to avoid that. But yeah, on top of that, the boomers, another reason that they shy away from training is because they're so used to being established and successful in whatever it is that they're doing, right? That they can't bear the idea of being a beginner at something again. So for example, like a lot of these people are retired, they have worked super hard their whole life, they're very established in their career, they've raised children, that's very challenging, very difficult, right? And so they kind of reach retirement age, and now it's like they've crossed the finish line. Now they're just gonna relax and enjoy their retirement. So the idea of picking up something that is physically challenging something that they have to be new at and not be good at right away. That takes a long time to get good at. Especially if you're older too, like you're going to start off weaker than like a younger person that's starting off at the same thing, which, you know, can be psychologically difficult for someone that comes from that world and then now they're kind of like down to this level all of a sudden. So the embarrassment of having to be, you know, submissive to, you know, a coach or a trainer or other lifters in the gym, especially if those lifters are younger, right? But to be physically incapable of performing certain basic tasks even is embarrassing in a lot of ways, right? So like if you come in, if you're a 60-something-year-old woman, you know, and you're gonna try to squat, but you can't even squat halfway down without almost falling over because you don't have enough muscle mass, like that's embarrassing, right? So, you know, it's very easy to shy away and just not even approach it in the first place. But yeah, on top of that, there's the cost of the time at that point in your life as well, because you put in so much work in your career to allow you to enjoy your later years in retirement, right? The thought of then putting in more time at something that you might not enjoy or that is very challenging does not sound very appealing, right? When you'd rather, you know, travel the world or go to Florida every so often or whatever it is that you do at that point, right? So that's the psychological. Then physically, training is obviously very challenging. It's very physically demanding, and as a result, also very psychologically demanding for different reasons that I just talked about. But, you know, like just the idea of like trying to get through a hard set has its own set of challenges. You know, it's incredibly difficult. A lot of the time, mature lifters are far removed from doing difficult things. Like I said, they're retired now. They live a more cushy lifestyle. So you kind of do lose the edge a little bit if you aren't pushing yourself to do hard things, and if it's been a little while, depending on how far removed you are from your career. But yeah, they've paid their dues already. So they've either lost the skill of doing hard things, or they just don't feel like they should have to anymore. They feel like that's behind them now. They're into a more relaxed stage of life. Which is fine, but think of my analogy before, if you don't train, eventually it's going to catch up with you. You're going to have health problems, and eventually you're going to die. So the Reaper's coming, and he doesn't care about you, doesn't care what you've done. You know, we're all going to die either way, so you can either go out with dignity and be as healthy and as strong as possible, or you can circle the drain and die prematurely. It's up to you, right? I know it sounds harsh, but that is the reality of it. So everything hurts when you're old, and so does training. That part definitely is challenging. Things are still going to hurt anyways, but they're going to hurt less, and at least you're going to be in control of it, right? So you're the one that, you know, you control your destiny at that point, right? The dignity thing I was just talking about. Inflammation can be controlled as well, right? And injury prevention is going to skyrocket. So remember the difference between inflammation and injuries, right? You're not very likely to have a catastrophic injury from lifting weights. Inflammation is going to pop up, but you can control that, and you're going to have less inflammation from training compared to if you don't train and you're just sedentary. You're going to have a lot more inflammation that way. But yeah, recovery is also impeded at that age, which makes things challenging. Your sleep suffers, your appetite decreases, nutrients don't digest as well because you don't have as much stomach acid. You can read the Barbell Prescription. I recommend that for more on that topic as well, and the, you know, pain and the inflammation and all that stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm going to say please lift, right? Set your pride aside, take care of yourself. You know, it's all, well, this and nutrition are the two greatest factors in preventing these preventable diseases, right? So like diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and, you know, what's the dementia, all that good stuff, right? So to appeal to the boomers here, I'm gonna cast a stone right now. But the boomers are, I think, very selfish and very entitled by not training, because they are forcing the millennials to take care of them by being in poor physical health. They are putting a lot of psychological stress on their millennial children, and they are wasting millennial tax dollars with their Medicare expenses when they could have been taking care of themselves, which I think is very selfish. And, you know, maybe we shouldn't be paying as many taxes anymore so we don't have to take care of these boomers, and they can do it for themselves, right? But anyways, the pharmaceutical industry and the processed food conglomerates, they don't care about your health. They don't care about your well-being. They just care about making money. So if you continue to, you know, horse that processed food down your throat and, you know, not train and just deteriorate and take pharmaceutical drugs instead of doing the hard things that are actually going to keep you in better health over the long term, then, you know, that's your life, your choice, but I don't recommend it. But if you care about your own money as well, so that's a big thing, right? If you want to be financially independent and be healthy in your older age, then training is a good route to take, because you're going to spend less money in the long term. I've mentioned this before. Do the math on 1 year in a nursing home, right? And then go ahead and see how many years of a gym membership that can buy you, right? So for starting strength gyms, very high ticket gym, very expensive, you can get like 20 plus years of gym membership for the cost of 1 year in assisted living, right? So if you're just going to like Crunch or something, or CrossFit, whatever, it's going to be even more, like a lifetime of gym membership essentially. So yeah, what else was I going to say? Yeah, stop giving your money away to the pharmaceutical companies and the fast food and whatnot. But yeah, so if you want to make a savvy investment, right, make an investment in your health, your lifespan, your quality of life, your quality time with your loved ones, right? Take the stress off of them as well. Like, realize that you're reducing their psychological burden because they're not worrying about you all the time. And yeah, and remember their image of you as well. So like, everyone wants to be remembered as the healthiest and best version of themselves, right? A big thing is you don't want to have grandchildren, for example, and then the grandchildren, like, they only ever know you as the sick, dying, deteriorating version of yourself, and that's how they always remember you, right? You want them to remember you as, like, wise and healthy and strong. So take care of yourself so that can happen, and that's your legacy at that point. But yeah, that's really it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. The landscapers are getting going outside, so I'm going to cut the video off right here, but I was done anyways. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, say something in the comments, let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, goodbye.